Hi and welcome back to the channel. This is Rideshare Buddy UK and my name's Kevin. And have you yesterday had to update your agreement to Uber's terms and conditions for drivers? And why have you changed them? Well, the main reason why it's been changed is because of the Bolt ruling. Now we know we've always been, well not always, but since last year and the court case, Uber drivers have been classed as workers. Bolt, yesterday, day before yesterday, also had their driver status at Employment Tribunal confirmed as workers. The big difference between Bolt and Uber is that Bolt have to pay holiday pay and minimum wage guarantees on not active time but online time. So it includes waiting time the moment you log onto the app to when you log off the app. Now you get that provided you're not logged into any other ride sharing app at the same time. And that's a big difference between the Uber and the Bolt. In Uber they've been able to wrangle it so they only have to pay minimum wage and holiday pay on active job time, which is when you take and accept the job, to when you drop off the job. With Bolt, it's when you log onto the app to when you log off the app. And all that is due in court next week and that'll be determined next week. Now, that difference between paying inclusive of waiting time is really only for people who are exclusively Bolt drivers and don't also drive for any other company. And the update that you had from Uber yesterday, which you had to agree to, if you read the update and the details of the new driver terms and conditions, you will see that Uber is very clearly pushing the fact that you can work for other apps at the same time as when you're logged into Uber. So they are pushing you to do multi-apping, because they want to try and make sure that they don't fall under the Bolt situation where they have to pay from when you go online to when you go offline, and they have to pay waiting time between jobs. And that could happen if you decide, I'm just going to be exclusively Uber driver. That could then go back to court and that decision could be changed so it's online time. Now, I've never quite figure out how Uber managed to get away with only paying minimum wage during active time, because I'm old enough to remember when minimum wages first came into effect in this country, and KFC Chicken tried to get away the minimum wage regulations by forcing people or their workers to only had to log off and log on when customers were in the shop. When there was no customers in the shop, they had to go in and log off and wait around, and then they couldn't log back in. So effectively what Kentucky Fried Chicken was trying to do is what Uber was doing right now, which is to only pay for active handling and serving of customers, and in between customers you didn't get paid. That was thrown out of court, and KFC got very heavily fined for doing that. So they couldn't do that anymore and nobody else could do that. But somehow Uber managed to wrangle it, and they wrangled it with the low pay unit of the HMRC who enforced minimum wage. So this Bolt claim really throws that out the window and says if you are purely a rideshare driver with one company, then you should be paid minimum wage and holiday pay from when you log on to when you log off. So if you look at the new terms and conditions, you will find very much Uber really trying to push the fact that you are self-employed and a worker status, that you are not an employee, and that you are free to continue working for other companies even when you're logged onto the Uber app. It says you don't have to take jobs, you can refuse jobs, you can cancel jobs. It's entirely down to you what you do, and there's no repercussions if you decide to do that. So there'll be no more warnings about your acceptance rate dropping too low or your cancellation rate going too high. They can't, because if they do that, then they have a lot of control over your situation, and they have that risk then of having to pay minimum wage for online time, not active time. So the new terms and conditions say you can take what you like, you can log on when you want, you can log off when you want, you can cancel when you want, you can work for other rideshare companies when you want, you can take your own route if you want, so you don't have to, no longer have to follow the route that Uber suggests. So it's entirely down to you how you operate, and that really is a big difference, and that's really what that new terms and conditions is really trying to enforce, is the fact that Uber has no control over what you earn, when you work and things like that. Will that stand up in court? Again, if it goes back to court, we don't know. The GMB union, who is the union for Uber, are actively looking at the outcome of the case, and the fact that Bolt has to pay waiting time as well if they're the only drive with Bolt. If the Ola decision goes that way as well, then the situation is going to be Uber will have to go back to court and try and justify whether they pay just active time or whether they have to pay minimum wage for online time. And I can imagine if a lot of drivers will opt to only work for Uber if they're going to be guaranteed minimum wage from the time they log on to the time they log off. But that's the main reason why you've now had to update your terms and conditions and agreements with Uber to carry on working. Uber really reinforcing that fact that you can work for any other company while you're working for Uber and while you're logged on, and that you're not having an exclusive contract with Uber, and that Uber will not punish you if you choose not to do jobs. Because they can't, because once they start introducing any sort of punishment or timeouts or anything like that, if you refuse jobs, then them taking control, they have the power, and they are then liable to pay for any waiting time or time in between jobs. But that's interesting to see how Bolt went, and that difference between the Bolt worker situation and the Uber worker situation. We'll see how Ola goes. We have a new company, we have a new government in control, a Labour government. Workers' rights is going to come much more up with priorities than company rights, and we'll see what happens. Your thoughts, we'll be interested to hear from you. So thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.